This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 29 and verse 11. A fool uttereth all his mind, but a wise man keepeth it in till afterwards. Shalom, shalom, Akim. Before I begin, I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Kakudash. All right, double honor to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. Peace and salutations unto the elect. All right, I'm the brother Kabar Allah coming at you with another lesson. Okay, and today's lesson is going to be real quick, but it's about just using wisdom. Okay, so a lot of times, you want to act up, or you want to, someone disrespects you or whatnot, and you have to use wisdom. Okay, because ultimately we are not in our own rest. Okay, we are not in our own rest. All right, and I got a quick testimony. Okay, about a year or two ago, I believe it was like 2 years ago. My house had got raided. Okay, we were falsely accused of having, firearms. So around 2 a.m. 3 a.m. I had got woken up to a big ass rifle, pointed at me. A big ass rifle was pointed right at me. Okay, and I saw the beam of the rifle, and he was pointing the gun right at me. Okay, ordering me to get up and to pretty much get up and leave the house, and they put my hands behind my back, and I was around 17 at the time. Okay, and pretty much, if I had been cursing them out and this, that, and the third, even though I didn't know what was going on, okay, I just complied because I knew that I wasn't guilty of anything, and for situations like this, revolving around, Akim getting pulled over, okay, you don't want to be that loudmouth Jake. You don't want to be that loudmouth Jake, because ultimately these people have the power over us. Okay, you don't want to be that Jake who gets fucking choke slammed because he was talking. You want to use wisdom. That's why I opened up with Proverbs chapter 29 verse 11. A fool uttereth all his mind, but a wise man keepeth it in till afterwards. Right? Okay, so when all that was taking place, okay, as soon as they didn't find anything, that's when I started asking stuff. That's when I started asking, like, well, what's going on? Why was this the case? Like, did we get raided? Okay, and someone had lied on us, saying that we had firearms, and that we were threatening people, which was not the case, obviously. Okay, this happened after a confrontation at a party. Okay, I'm not gonna get into detail with that, but pretty much they had me put my hands behind my back, and they put me face first to a cop car, the hood of a cop car, and they had me like bend, and I was 16 at the time, so I'm like, why the hell, what was going on? But I was already practicing, the ministry, so I had to apply wisdom and agree with that adversary quickly, okay, as the scriptures say. All right, it says real quick, let me actually grab that. All right. Because you got to understand, as a Jake, you already hated. As a Jake, you already going to go through it. You already hated. Okay. And if you a loudmouth Jake, you going to be even more hated. Ain't nobody going to be by your side. These people want any reason to take your ass to cuffs. All right. This is the book of Matthew chapter 5 and verse 25. Agree with an adversary quickly. Right. You have to agree with your enemy quickly. Okay, it's not a thing of pride, It's not a thing of, well, yeah, well, I'll kick his ass, You don't want to. Because men are not men anymore. Okay, men have guns. Okay, men have knives. Men carry, you want to catch a fade, as they say. We want to fight someone. Next thing you know, they pull out a gun and they shoot you. Okay. Or say you're not guilty of something, and a police officer, pulls you over. All right, you're not guilty of anything if you're a man of the Lord. Ultimately, you're not gonna do anything illegal. If you're a man of the Lord, so just agree with them quickly, and you're gonna be on your way. That's also could be the Lord, seeing how you use wisdom. Okay, how do you move when this happens? Are you gonna apply the scriptures, or are you gonna go about it as a worldly man? Okay, it says, whilst thou art in the way with him, least at any time the adversary deliver thee to the judge, and the judge deliver thee to the officer, and thou be cast into prison. It says, verily I say unto thee, thou shalt by no means come out thence till thou hast paid the uttermost farthing. It says, well, actually, that was it on that, actually. Right, so you got to agree with your adversary quickly, man. You can't be moving out here like you got the power. We don't have the power. Okay, the scriptures say we were roughly paraphrasing, when thou art changed into a low estate. Okay, we are changed to a low estate. We have no power here. Okay, you can walk down the street, police officer asks you something, hey, you have to do your best to comply, man. Especially as a Jake. Okay, there's been so many videos where the police officer pulls someone over, and the Jake, loudmouth, and they choke slam him. They even kill his ass sometimes. So you have to apply wisdom. Okay, these scriptures were given to us to walk in wisdom. Okay, because the Bible is really a way to live your life as an Israelite. Okay, you're supposed to live your life according to the Bible. It has the laws, and it has the Lord giving us advice. Okay, it says, Ephesians 5:14, wherefore he saith, awake thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead, and Yahushua shall give thee light. It says, see then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise. Right, you don't want to walk as a fool. Okay, a fool will utter his mouth, like the scriptures say. A fool will utter all his mouth. Okay, you don't want to utter your whole mouth. You don't want to say everything that's on your mind, because in your mind you're thinking, what the fuck wrong with this dude? If you say that in real, if you say that out loud, he's gonna choke slam your ass. What the fuck wrong with me? Come on, man. You're gonna do something. You don't want that to happen, man. You certainly don't want that to happen. Okay. It says, verse 16, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. Right, you have to be understanding what times we're in. Okay. Which really it's never a good time for Jake. Jake is always going through it. Okay, Jake always going through it. All right, Jake always going through it. Okay, it says, verse 17, wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is. Right. Okay, you don't want to be a damn fool and use foolish, tactics. All right, you don't want to fight a police officer. Okay, you have to understand the position you're in and the position the police officer is in. All right, and ultimately you got to pray into the Lord and use what the Lord is giving us. The Lord gave us the scripture so that we can apply them to our life. The Lord didn't just say all these things. The Lord didn't give the Spirit to these great men to write these words down for us not to hear it. The Lord wanted us to hear these words. The Lord wanted us to hear these words and to apply it to our lives. Okay, because it can be applied to our lives. Right? In whatever scenario, maybe you're pulled over. You're not gonna speed off. That's what a ninja would do. You're not gonna, man, what this some bullshit. No, you're gonna comply. Yes, officer. Okay. Boom. They ask for ID. Boom, you got the ID. They ask for license, registration. Boom, they got license, they got registration. Sometimes you may just have a permit. Okay, so I know I know maybe some brothers be driving with only a permit. Hey, as long as you comply, they usually let you go. My cousin, he was driving with a permit for around 2 years. He got pulled over like twice. Both times they let him go because he complied. He said, "Listen, officer, I only have a permit right now, but I'm willing to give you my ID for identification purposes." And he let him go. They let him free because he complied and he used wisdom. All right, you just got to be reasonable, man. It says, verse 18, "And be not drunk with wine, wherein is excess, but be filled with the Rakak Wadash, with the Spirit, man, with the Holy Spirit, man." So you have to be filled with the Spirit. Okay, you have to make sure you're using wisdom at every cause, man. But that's pretty much gonna be the lesson, man. Lord willing was edifying. Lord willing was uplifting. I'm gonna give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai. Double honor to the elders and apostles, great millstone. Peace and salutations unto the elect. Shalom.